We've come out to the banks of the River Severn because it's that time of year again where we can take our safari rig out into the wilds of the reserve and you can join us to see the fantastic wildlife that we have on offer. The safaris can be great places to catch up with our cranes. You may be lucky enough to see our roe deer or our grass snakes, and they're also a fantastic opportunity to come see the raptors here on the reserve, particularly things like marsh harrier, kestrel and hobby. They usually perform throughout the summer, the hobbies particularly targeting the dragonflies. We've got a fantastic population here at the northern end of the reserve. Species like brown hawker, southern hawker and common darter will all be on the wing throughout safari season. And we've also had a few rarities recently, things like lesser emperor, red-veined darter, and we're also seeing an expansion of our population of small red-eyed damselflies. So there's loads and loads for you to come and see. Our safaris will be running twice a day at 11:30 and 2 o'clock, weather dependent. All you need to do is book your place when you arrive at our admissions desk. Back towards the centre, we're seeing our Estuary Tower development really coming on, and that should be ready in time for our winter spectacle to return later this year. The summer walkway has now reopened for the rest of the season, and we're seeing lots and lots of autumn migrants start to really pass through the reserve. The South Lake in particular has been fantastic at the moment. Lots and lots of black-tailed godwits returning from Iceland. They're being joined by lots of ruff, green sandpiper, green shank, and over the last couple of weeks we're also seeing the first of our high Arctic breeding species return, things like sanderling. They're out here on the river, but other birds will be pushed onto the scrapes at high tide. And the good news is it's only going to get busier as autumn goes on. So it's a fantastic time to come and see a great diversity of birds here at Slimbridge this summer.
Being pink is probably a flamingo's most distinguished feature, but sometimes we get questions about why not all of our birds are pink. Particularly at this time of year when you can see chicks and juveniles here at Slimbridge and other WWT centres that house flamingos. We get questions about why aren't the babies the same colour as their parents? And that's all basically down to how flamingos consume their food and how they collect their food. It takes a very long time for a flamingo chick to be as efficient at collecting food like the adults are. Therefore, their pink colour has to grow in stages over time. Adult flamingos collect their pink pigments in their food, and because they can live for a long time, they get pinker and pinker and pinker as they age. Juvenile flamingos, when they hatch, they're not able to collect food with these pink pigments in the same way as the adults. Consequently, it takes them much longer to obtain this pink colour. Up until their first year of life, juvenile flamingos are a grey or brown colour. Then their plumage change can be very variable. It can take anywhere between 4 to 6 years for a young flamingo to turn into the same beautiful pinkness as we see in the adults. And that's because every time they grow, they have to shunt a bit more of this pink colour into their new feathers. So as they get more efficient at collecting food that has the pink pigment in it, so the brighter pink their feathers will become, until eventually they'll have the same bright pink feathers as their parents have. It's the flamingo's beak, head and legs that are the last parts of it that will turn the bright pink that we see in adult birds. So on your next visit to WWT Slimbridge, check out our greater flamingos and our Chilean flamingos, because there you can spot some adolescent birds that are not quite babies, that are not quite adults, that will have a grubby grey, slightly paler plumage that eventually will turn beautiful and pink, just like their parents.
Hello and welcome behind the scenes in the duckery today to have a look at some of the gorgeous goslings of 2019. We're sharing a pen today with 4 species, the first of which is the red-breasted goose. This critically endangered species migrates from southern Europe up to the Arctic, and we know very little about it. So in keeping and breeding these birds, we really hope that we can make sure people understand their significance and importance for conservation in the future. The cheeky grey goslings to the side of me are black brant, an amazing species that migrates from the southern states all the way up to Alaska along the west coast, stopping off for high protein meals of seaweed along the way. You'll have to get your bird brain engaged for the next bird, which is the light-bellied brent, subtly different to the dark brent due to the lovely light belly, even visible as a gosling. Last but not least, our 4th species of gosling is the ruddy-headed goose, a species interesting in aviculture at the moment due to a subspecies being identified between the mainland and the Falkland Island birds. It just goes to show that even today's day and age we're learning new things about waterfowl all the time. These beautiful birds have been reared behind the scenes for conservation education, not just here at Slimbridge but some of our other sites too. So why don't you head down to your local WWT centre and see what babies are visible where you are.